gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
What is up, party mofo people? What's happening? It is your old reliable weirdo here. It's Jam and Jeff here on Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I don't know where I just came up with Jam and Jeff. I just threw that in there for the hell of it, for fun. Yeah, so this is kind of an impromptu late night, very late night, midnight on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Who knows what time it is? Middle of the night over in the UK and Europe, but kind of an impromptu live stream. And this is being done more of as a test of the system, so to speak, than it is anything else. Been watching this. Hey, what's it? Necrotic Jeff. There you go. No, it'd be what the hell is it when you're a night person? Nocturnal Jeff. That would be probably a little bit better. But yeah, so essentially tonight's live stream is my most played or favorite top 10 albums of all time. And I have a few things to say about that before we start the list of actual albums, which I've been kind of working on for a couple days. And the reason that I'm doing this stream is many-fold reasons. The first one is that this thread has been making the rounds. And, you know, top 10 threads are nothing new. Everybody does them. Top 10 songs, top 10 albums of a band, top 10, you know, album artwork pieces, top 10 black metal albums. We're doing one of those this Saturday, which I'll talk about later. Top 10 doom metal albums, top 10 traditional metal, I mean, all that kind of stuff. Top 10 prog albums. Everybody does top 10 lists. But what I found kind of interesting about this top 10 most played thread that's going on, this viral VC thread thing, which if you know my channel, you know I don't usually participate in these. I rarely ever do them. I think I've done one before, maybe two, but I know one that I did way back in like early 21 or late 2020, and I don't even remember what it was, but I think it was top 10 perfect albums except for like one song or something like that. But anyway, long story short, I've been watching these threads pop up, and weirdly enough, when you watch one or two of them, and they're not your usual group of people, your usual people that you go check out their stuff, what starts to happen is, and you know this if you watch YouTube a lot, you will find that oftentimes you start to get populated in your screen that, you know, when you pop into YouTube, your shit, I'm forgetting the damn name of it. Help me out, Rick. What's it called? The feed. Your feed for YouTube, the algorithm starts reading what you're watching, and the next thing you know, boom, 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 it starts populating with all these top 10 favorite video or top 10 favorite albums of all time or most listened to ones. And I got to thinking about this, and I'm like, what was interesting about it was I clicked on a few of these. Out of curiosity, what I tried to do was look at the ones that had sub counts like mine, 730, 40, 50, whatever, under 1,000, between 500 and 1,000. And what I started to find was that some of these channels that only had 300, 400, 600 subs were getting 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 views on these videos. And I found myself going, what the actual fuck is going on here? And the more I drilled down into some of these and watched some of these, I literally could not comprehend or understand why some of these were just getting slaughtered with, you know, low sub count channels were getting slaughtered with tons of views. It was like, what? I don't get it. I just don't get it. And part of it I started thinking, I tend to try to do some pretty unique, cool stuff. I bring in unique people that I interview, not for everyone, but I try to interview people that aren't the usual cast of YouTube metal people, or, I've gotten in, branched out and done doom folk with Marissa Nadler. I've done experimental music with Andrew Lyles and Lustmord and Dark Ambient and experimental noise with Andrew Mensch or Menchie, Daniel Menchie, excuse me, not Andrew. And they get watched. Some get a fair number of views. I mean, my Steve Von Till interview has, I don't know, over 1,200 views, I believe now, which is cool. But I don't have a single video that has gone over 1,700. I think my highest two videos still are the ones I did with Marty Worm and Matt from the Dark Path when we did the 2-episode Voivod thing. They're still kind of my highest. Now I've got Death Metal Island and Thrasher's Island, and I think the Carcass deep dive and the Neurosis deep dive. They're starting to accrue a lot of views, but they're still nowhere near 2,000. And it's like, okay, well, I only have 730 subs, so maybe that makes sense. But it's kind of weird. I have one viral video, and that is a short that I did of a Boz Scaggs song that I did a lip sync thing to, and it's got like 18,000 views, which is weird. And I picked up a considerable amount of subs, 60 or so subs from that. But this is more of an experiment to see what happens here, because this leads to my second thought about this top 10 list of most listened to albums. There's no way in hell, I believe, at all, that most of these videos that are out there that people are doing, that there's any freaking way that they have any idea how many times they listen to an album in a year's time, or 2 years' time, or 3 years' time, or even, in my case, I've been listening to music for about 4.5 decades, since I was in my probably 10 years old. I'm 58 almost. And it's kind of mind-blowing that I watch some of these videos, and I just almost have to chuckle a little bit, because there's absolutely no way that I believe that these people predominantly just listen to those 10 albums and they know it. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I listen to a lot of music, a lot of bands, a lot of genres. I swing from ABBA to Zappa to Triumph, my new Triumph shirt. Thanks, Dad. To, Chris Cornell, to Atheist, to Boards of Canada, to Tangerine Dream. I mean, I'm all over the place, man. To Miles Davis. I listen to a lot of different music, and I doubt there's one specific genre that I concentrate on constantly. I kind of move in genre periods. I might get into jazz and listen to a couple jazz albums for a week or two, and then I'll jump into some electronic music, and then I'll go back to metal. I mean, metal is probably my fallback. Metal, hard rock, classic rock, that kind of stuff. That's where I primarily reside, but I move all over the place. So I'm thinking about people like, some of these guys that have thousands and thousands and thousands of albums. We're talking 8, 10, 6, 5,000 albums. There's just no way, I believe for a second, that they know exactly that, oh, I've listened to these 10 albums more than any other 10 albums over this last year, the year before, or 5 years before that. It just doesn't ring true to me. I kind of call bullshit on it. So what I ended up doing was kind of looking at my history as a listener, as a fan of music, and looking at the genres that I really love and thinking, okay, what albums from those genres do I typically go to most frequently? And so I've got a real cross section of stuff, and it's kind of ruined by my more or less by my my thumbnail. You can see my picks there, but you don't know my thoughts on those albums for the most part. You might on one or two that I've talked about in my deep dives. Like I have talked a little bit about Boards of Canada. Obviously, I did a deep dive on them back in May. Marillion did a deep dive on them last 21, I think it was, with Lee. We did a deep dive on the Fish Era stuff. Fates Warning, I did a deep dive back in April with Kevin Huffnagel. And Porcupine Tree was my very first deep dive back in 21, October of 21, I believe it was. So you can get some of my thoughts on some of these albums, but the other ones you probably don't know. Yes, too, I just realized. And it would make sense that I would go to those bands that I've loved all my life and certain albums that mean an awful lot to me, right? So basically, yeah, I don't want to hear about pimple popping, man. That is the grossest fucking shit ever, dude. Anyway, I decided to do this live, and I don't know whether that will make any difference in this thing. But what I wanted to see was, I just wanted to see if this video would go semi-viral. For me, that would be 2,000 or 3,000 views. That would be like, wow, amazing. My guess on this is I'll be shocked if this thing breaks 400 views. I'll be shocked if it does. Maybe it'll go a little more than that, but I'll be shocked if it does. Who knows what happens? I'm going to try to do the whole hashtagging thing and see what happens. But I'm just curious to see what will happen out there, because realistically, I could have made a list of 10 Rush albums as my most listened to albums, and it would have made sense. It really would have made sense, to be completely blunt with you, because I still listen to Rush all the time. They're my favorite band. Everybody knows that watches my channel, and I go back to those albums quite regularly. But this was an impromptu thing. We'll see what happens. We're going to go over some of these albums. Weird hair here, sorry. And we'll see what goes down. But basically, this is my top 10 most listened to albums. Do I really think that that's true? Well, a lot of these are definitely up there. And I'm going to throw some honorable mentions, and I don't know if other people are doing that, but I'm going to. And the reason I'm doing that is because, quite frankly, I just can't stop at 10, but I'm going to give you my top 10, and then we'll throw some honorable mentions in there. I might mention a brief word or sentence or two about them. The other albums, I'm going to kind of go into depth a little bit about my history with, why I listen to them a lot, why I still love them a lot, what they mean to me, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so that's that. Why am I doing this at midnight on the East Coast? Who knows, man? I sleep a lot from 5, 6 a.m. till 2 in the afternoon because of my health condition. And so therefore, I kind of do this when I feel like doing it. And I probably should have done an actual video of this, but I generally do the live streams because I don't like editing and I'm not that bright with the whole video thing. I can do them. I probably can do them, but I don't really, because of how I feel a lot of the time, I don't really want to do them. So I'm doing it as a live. Fly by the seat of my pants and see what happens. So, top 10 albums. That I listen to, most. What I tried to do here was that I tried to look at, who are a lot of my favorite bands. Well, they're clearly going to be the ones that I listen to a lot. So I kind of made a list of a lot of my favorite bands and started to look at their album discographies, and kind of was looked at like, yeah, that's Stay and Break the Cycle is just right on the outside, dude. It's an honorable mention. But yeah, I kind of looked at this and was like, well, there are I don't know, 45, 50 bands I could say are in my top 10. But I kind of narrowed it down to bands and artists that I tend to gravitate towards a lot. Some of these things, like I said, you're going to have heard about in deep dives if you watch any of the deep dives, but I might have some different or additional thoughts on them. And some of them I haven't mentioned before, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But we're going to start with, and these are in no particular order. I could not tell you whether I listened to the first album I show way more than the second album I show or the fifth album I show. I have no clue. I just don't. I don't keep a spreadsheet, man. I don't keep a spreadsheet. I guess there are those people that are that anal retentive and that kind of unusual, shall we say, that are that kind of OCD that they have to keep track of everything. I do know that there are a lot of people, maybe some of you, maybe a lot of you that are going to watch this at some point in time, or some of you that are going to watch this at some point in time, that keep things on spreadsheets. I don't have a spreadsheet, man. That's way too much work for me. Discogs, never bothered, man. I mean, most of my shit's CD, so it's not worth like a lot of the albums. The albums that I have, there's a few OGs, but nothing worth anything crazy. I sold a lot of my vinyl, which was kind of stupid. So I don't have any affinity to that kind of thing, and I don't have that kind of OCD. I'm just being honest. So basically, let's get started with well, should we start with, I guess maybe this is perhaps maybe one of the most listened to albums ever for me, if not maybe the most listened to. You guys are gonna know this one right off the top. Rick, if you had to guess, what album is it? Take a quick guess. I want to see if you know me like I think you know me. Or Devin, you should, if you're in here, you're probably not here, but all right. Let's see if you guessed it right, Rick. It is, my boys. Rush Hemispheres. Without question, probably my favorite album of all time. This is the 40th anniversary box set. Which, by the way, if you're a Rush fan and you want to get the latest 3 box sets super cheap, Amazon has a crazy fucking deal going on right now for the moving pictures box set. $126. It's normally $300. You're never gonna find it that cheap. I don't know what the deal with that is. I fear it might be a bootleg. Anyway, there you go. Oh, nope, wrong album. There it is, man. 1978. I grabbed this bad boy off a shelf in the Foley's department store of Greens Point Mall in Greens Point, not Greenfield. Greens Point Mall in Houston, Texas. I was I 14? No, I was 12 years old. I was into Kiss a lot at that time, but I saw this album, and I'd seen a kid at school named Flake. His nickname was Flake. Total stoner dude. We were in 7th grade or 8th grade. I forget which. 7th. I think it was 7th grade. I saw him wearing a Hemisphere shirt. It had the red logo like this and the Starman going into the star. And I saw that Rush shirt. And I'm like, I got to find out who this band is. Now, this is the reimagined new one. That's not the same artwork. This stuff was not in the original artwork. The pictures were, though. Pictures are original. But the artwork itself is the hey, Logan, what's up, dude? Hey, man. Yeah, it's my favorite album, too. My favorite Rush album, probably my favorite album of all time. But yeah, so this is the reissue that came out, I want to say in 1917, something like that. So it's not the original. I had the original with the poster. Gone to the ages. This has never been played, by the way, as a lot of my vinyl hasn't been played because I don't have a vinyl player. I think everybody that knows me knows that pretty well. Had one, lost a lot of that stuff in my storage unit. So, although I did not have I had a record player that didn't work. I think the belt was shot in it. So yeah, Rush, Hemispheres. I got some thoughts, man. Do I have some thoughts on this album? What do I say about a work of pure magic and alchemy? You know, like I said, I could have mentioned at least 8 Rush albums for this list today, but that would have been kind of cheating and boring unless you're a Rush fiend like I am. So let's talk about this album. Side 1, Cygnus X1, Book 2, Hemispheres. Man, just magical, insanely killer. The pinnacle of melding prog, proto-metal, progressive rock with an incredibly deep lyrical analysis of the struggle between the heart and mind. Absolutely killer first half. I can listen to that first section over and over and over. You know, you got Prelude, that down, 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 and the Lifeson chord, which I don't have my guitar tuned properly, so I won't play it. But you've got Apollo, the bringer of love. Bringer of wisdom. Dionysus, bringer of love. Armageddon, the battle of heart and mind. Man, that dun 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 dun, which revisits Cygnus X1 off of Farewell to Kings. You've got Bringer of Balance. We will call you Cygnus, the god of balance you shall be. Just so good. And then you've got the closing, the Sphere, A Different Kind of Dream. We can walk our roads together. Man, just beautiful, man. with a heart and mind united in a perfect single sphere. Just incredible. But then you get to side two, man, and it just kind of gets better, man. Circumstances to me is probably one of their heaviest songs ever. Lyrically, it's challenging and dense and very metaphorical. Some of Alex's most inventive playing. Blue Session. I can't do that. Blue Sailor Mem shows the more that things change, the more they stay the same. Oh my God, so good. Fucking incredible, man. And then probably my favorite Rush song of all times, or tonight, anyways. You've got no, this is not a ranking 1 through 10. It's just my top favorites. Although you could probably say this is my favorite album of all time. Then you get into La Via Strangiato, man. La Via Strangiato, technically ridiculous, hard to break it down. Three masters of their crafts at the time. They were pinnacle musicians, still are. Geddy and Neil were clearly some of the best ever. And Alex kind of gets dogged as kind of like the guy was a little less than the other guys. And I guess you could kind of say that, but not to me, man. I thought Geddy was, or Alex, I think Alex is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Huge influence on me, the main reason I picked up the guitar. And he just absolutely rips and smokes on this freaking album. It's just unbelievable. You get into La Via, it's a 9.5 minute, almost 10 minute song with incredible time changes, just soundscapes galore, some of Alex's most haunting and frenetic shredding, quite frankly. Just fucking killer, man. Just absolutely killer. Rush, Hemispheres, like I said, I could call this my favorite album of all time, and it would not be an understatement. I've listened to it thousands of times. I never get bored of it. I always listen to it a couple times a year. And yeah, so this is the 40th anniversary box set. Yeah, just pinnacle shit, man. Pinnacle shit. All right. So that is number one, but it's not a numerical thing. Just saying it's the first one I pulled up. So, it's interesting. I posted this live at probably not till like 10 or 10:30 because I was working on the thumbnail, which I quite like actually. And everybody's dipping out. Nobody's watching, so whatever. So that tells me probably no one's even going to watch this video. Maybe I'll make it into a video. Maybe I'll download it afterwards and make it into a video. Okay, number two, excuse me. Love. I think if you guys know me, you'll know that I love this album, Forever Changes, 1967. By the way, if I didn't mention, I think I did. 1978 was Hemispheres. I didn't look up dates on the album. Doesn't matter. That's the year, and everybody knows them. So this is the 50th anniversary edition. I think came out in 17, I believe, because 67. This came out in 1967. Love was a LA band that at the time when this album came out, they had, I think, 2 or 3 other albums out. The Capo, and I'm not sure if there was another one out. But long story short, this is kind of thought of widely as one of the greatest albums ever recorded. Certainly out of the 60s. If you look, it's all the portraits of the 5 guys in the band in the shape of a heart. Get it? Love, heart. Anyways. Again, this is the 50th anniversary. It's got a what has it got in here, man? It's got 5 discs. Well, it's got 4 discs and 1 DVD. I've showed this before on one of my sharing a 6-pack videos, but there's like a mono version, a different stereo mix than was originally available. I think it might be a totally different mono mix on here. I can't remember off the top of my head. The vinyl, which again never been played, a really nice booklet. I think that's it. Don't know if these are still out there. Probably are. Oh, here we go. Here's the cheat sheet. So there's original stereo mix, original mono mix, alternate mix, singles and outtakes, original stereo album, and the 2496 stereo in DVD. I don't think it's 5.1 though. I'm pretty sure it's not. But that's the little cover sheet that came on the back of it. And so, what about love? What about love? This band was actually at the time in '67 was quite a bit bigger in LA than the Doors. Elektra signed them, and they were going to make them the big thing. They were going to two previous. Thanks, Phil. I knew Da Capo, and I think there was one before that. I don't really know that album. Um, yeah, so Elektra was going to make these guys the next big, huge thing. And Albert Lee, the kind of histrionic leader, singer, songwriter of the band, Albert Lee, didn't want to tour around the U.S., particularly in the South, because this was one of the very first integrated bands where there were white members and black members. Albert Lee, Johnny Eccles were the two black members, and then there was Brian McLean. I can't remember the other two guys' name. Phil something was one of the guys, and Snoopy was the other dude, I believe, too. One of them's dead. Well, actually, three of them are dead now that I know of. Might be even four, actually. I know Johnny Eccles is still alive. I've been trying to get him to come on my show, but he won't answer my direct messages. But anyway, Love Forever Changes. Man, top three album, top five, top three. Just an amazing sort of, it's so evocative. It's so nostalgic. The songwriting is amazing. It's so evocative of a time and a place that I was alive for. Most of you weren't alive on this thing that are watching right now. In fact, I don't think any of you were. But people that might watch it later probably know that it's just a timeless album, man. I mean, it starts off with the song "And More Again." I'm sorry, not "And More Again." "Alone Again," which was actually a Brian McLean song, and it's got this sort of cool, I would say, almost like a sort of a kind of a Spanish kind of vibe to it, Spanish rock sort of vibe. "Alone Again" was the name of the track. Just absolutely one of the most beautiful songs you're ever going to hear. Is it very 60s sounding? Sure, man. Nothing wrong with that shit at all. It's just an amazing song. "A House Is Not a Motel," another killer track. "And More Again," super ballad, beautiful song. And you will know and more again. Ba, 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 ba. Just so beautiful. "The Daily Planet," man. Maybe the people would be the times or between Clark and Hilldale. Just damn, man. I mean, Albert Lee was just such a fucking killer lyricist and songwriter. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head the lyrics to that one. The one about "there's the snot is running down my nose." Um, just man, dude, just so fucking killer. If you don't know this album, if you've never taken the time to check out "Love Forever Changes," you are really shortchanging yourself. It is, no pun intended, it is seriously one of the most amazing albums you're ever going to hear. But this one, as Phil just said, it's on another level, man. It's in a lot of ways, it's on another level than most albums ever will be. And there's so many good songs I can't even really pull out. "You Set the Scene," "The Good Humor Man," he sees everything like this. "Live and Let Live." I mean, every single song on this album it's a kind of a microcosm of a time that was very short-lived in the 60s that was hippy dippy, peace and love, but it's not hippy dippy music, man. A lot of it's angry. It deals with racism. It deals with classism. It deals with, you know, the tensions around the Vietnam War. I mean, there was so much going on in this album, and it's just such a fucking masterpiece, man. And it's right there. It's right there, like I said, in my top 3 or 5 albums, you know, along with a couple other ones we're going to talk about. And these are ones I go back to. And I go back to this album regularly because I fucking love the way it sounds. I love the way it was produced. I love the way it makes me feel when I listen to it. It makes me feel anger and sadness and wistfulness and hope and happiness and pain. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful statement. and a crazy, amazing piece of work. Amazing piece of work. So that's number 2. Where do we go from here? All right. This one here, junior year, high school. Probably my senior year is when I listened to it the most, but I got it in my late in my junior year. And I've talked about this album before on a deep dive, clearly, and I've probably brought it up on, I don't know, something maybe, I'm not sure, but it definitely belongs here because this band kind of more or less made me start to reevaluate the OG prog bands that I'd been raised on, like Yes and Genesis and Pink Floyd and all that. All those bands have one album that could probably fall in here as a favorite that I listen to a lot, like Animals, or with Genesis, it would probably be Trick of the Tail, or Selling England. I'm not really sure which one there. I mean, or no, actually, it would probably be The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. But, and you get into King Crimson, it's Court of the Crimson King is right there, and Red is right there, So there's a lot of albums that could have been on this thing, that should have been on this thing, that aren't. But this band in 1983, I bought this album strictly based on the artwork. I saw it on a cassette at a Sam Goody record store at the Park City Mall here where I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I don't care if people know where I live. It's not like that's a big secret. But Marillion Script for a Jester's Tear. It is not my favorite Marillion album. I tend to favor listening to son of a bitch. Not Fugazi, not Misplaced Childhood. The 4th album. I'll remember it in a minute. Part of my illness is I forget shit very easily now. But Script, just absolutely incredible album. This is the 40th anniversary reissue that came out 2021. I can't remember. They're still available. I think they repressed this because it wasn't for a while. Signed by the original singer, and my favorite singer, Fish. This album just made me fall in love with neo-prog and made me fall back in love with the old classic Yes and the classic prog bands that I still love to this day. This one comes with the original mix. Oh no, it is the 2020 remix, the original mix, and then it's got Live at the Marquee Club from 1982. And a Blu-ray with the making of and all that kind of stuff. Just an absolutely stellar neo-prog album. If you like Genesis, but you like it a little bit more with, I guess you would say, more radio friendliness, kind of, although all these tracks are at least 7, well, He Knows You Know is 5.5, but the rest of them are 8 or 9 minute tracks, 10-minute tracks. Just absolutely amazing, man. The Script for a Jester's Tear. So here I am once more in the playground of the broken hearts. One more experience, one more entry in a diary self-pen. Yet another emotional suicide. Overdosed on sentiment and pride. Yeah, man, I know those lyrics still. He Knows You Know. Sick song about drug addiction and addiction in general. Super freaking cool. He knows, yeah, no. And Fish's voice is so unique on this. It's very Gabriel-esque, but it's got a little bit more of an acerbic, angry tone to it. And just, oh my God, man, just amazing, amazing album. You got Forgotten Sons, which is an anti-war anthem that is just magnificent. The Web is kind of like the big prog song on there. The flame it shines. Can't do those top end things anymore. What else do we have on there? We've got Market Square Heroes, which was kind of the single off here. 'Cause I'm a Market Square hero, gathering the troops to storm, or the storms to troops, sorry. What else we got? Are you following me? And then the great Garden Party. Oh my God. Don't, Garden Party. So good, man. Amazing, amazing. Garden Party is about like colloquial UK life in the 50s and 60s, I guess. It's just so cool. Script for a Jester's Tear, man. Absolutely one of my. I've listened to this album a couple thousand times, and I never, ever, ever get sick of it. It's one of my favorites. So, all right, that's that one. What else do we have here? What else do we have? All right. Oh, I didn't show this, but I have another copy of Love Forever Changes. I think this is the 20th, maybe the 30th anniversary or something like that. The slipcase with the 2 discs, and I don't even know what's on here, man. Oh, a bunch of bonus tracks like Hummingbirds, the alternate mix. So yeah, this is, when did this come out? This is 2001. So already 20 years old. 30th, I guess it was. Where are we at here? Okay, let's talk about this one. So if you guys know me, you know I really do like a lot of electronic music. I like electronic, strictly electronic, but I like a lot of electronic pop. I love bands like Ultravox and Tears for Fears and Depeche Mode and shit, bands of that nature. Early Talk. We just did that the other night, right, Phil? And I contend that without this guy, a lot of that maybe wouldn't have, the new wave may not have happened. The post-punk, there was punk, then post-punk bands, and then there was this new wave sort of synthesizer music. And this is one, to me, one of the most important albums that ever came out of the synth pop or synth new wave style of music. It's Gary Newman, Pleasure Principle, and this is the 20th anniversary, I think, or 30th. I'm sorry, 30th. And as you can tell, I got Gary to sign it when I met him. Met him a couple of times, but the first time I met him, he signed that. It's kind of weird. It's a double disc, and it's kind of one of those ones where there's, you should try to read those lyrics, man. Good luck. But there's a lot of good information in here about how the album came together, how they went into the studio and he wasn't sure after Replicas what he might, or not Replicas, Telecon. He wasn't sure what he was going to do, and they found a mini Moog and a poly Moog in the studio, and Gary just started playing around on it. And as I understand it, I think it's in the stories in this booklet in here. Basically, he started plunking around on it and kind of came up with some of those cool polyphonic synth sounds that you hear on the song Cars. Now, Cars, we've all heard it, I'm sure. Some of us probably loathe it, but some of us love it. And I still love that song, can hear it anytime, anywhere. I fucking love that track. And I remember very, very well when I first heard it, and I heard it in 1979 when I was working my first real job at Steak and Ale Restaurant in Houston, Texas on 1960. That's the road it was on, 1960. It had just opened. My mom was one of the 3 managers, and she let me come in and do dishes. I was 13, I think, in 79. No, I was just turned 14. And you could actually work in Texas. I think at that time you could work when you were 13 or 14, X number of hours in a week. So, but this album, man, is, it, to me, it birthed a lot of what you ended up hearing in the 80s with the Eurythmics and Ultravox was around before, but they were kind of more of a post-punk band in a lot of ways. They started getting more into the synthesizer. Billy Currie did around this time, and after this time is when Mid-Year took over, which we're gonna talk about them, Ultravox, in a minute too. But this album is just so special to me, man. I freaking love this album. Without this album, I don't think you have bands like Skinny Puppy and Frontline Assembly and Front 242 and 9 Inch Nails. I just don't think you have those bands. Granted, they added a lot of harsher electronics. This was a little more palatable. But Gary Newman with Replicas, Telecon, this album just kind of set the stage for a lot of those bands, in my opinion. And this album kind of went nuclear because of the song Cars. But it's not the only one it's not the only great song on here. Airlane on here is this sort of dreamy, atmospheric, and very alien thing. And that's the thing about this album that makes it great. It just has such an alien, cold, strange, hypnotically weird sound to it. And Gary's voice is that very, Here in my car, I did safest of all. When you open the door, whatever, I don't know the lyrics off the top of my head, but he just sounded so like a robot, and he looked kind of like a robot too. So it's kind of funny that I still go back to this album a lot, and actually I've got most Gary Newman. There is a period where his what I call his blackout period, like Alice Cooper, where he put a lot of pretty bad albums out, and those are super hard to find and really expensive to buy unless you run into them at a secondhand store in a cutout bin. But the nah, dude, he had a lot of other hits, man. Our Friends Electric, Down in the Park. Um, you know, I'd have to look at my albums. Those are the three off the top of my head that hit me right now. But he's had many, many, many hit songs. Was this his giant hit? Yeah, this was the giant hit, but he had a lot of other hits. Um, and he was a very, very popular artist at that point in time. And he kind of went into the dark era, and then he came out of it around Exile, Pure, in the late 90s, early 2000s. He kind of came out of it, and he started to go in the Trent Reznor vein. And Trent Reznor had a lot to do with that because he brought Gary Newman, almost said Gary Moore, Gary Newman on stage with him to do some shows back in that era. And it was kind of like, oh, perfect. This makes perfect sense. They did the song Metal. They would do the song Metal. And if you don't know the song Metal off this album, you should, because it's a fucking banging song. There's a song here called Films. Don't like the films. And it's got one of the most sampled drum beats, break beats you're ever going to hear. It's one of the most sampled break beats in music. The rappers and hip hop artists of the 90s and late 80s, early 90s into the 2000s used that breakbeat sample of the snare breakdown all the time, man. All the freaking time. Like I said, it's one of the most sampled drum beats you're ever going to hear in the world. Yes, Rick, Fear Factory did not write this song. They did not write this song. And they did a kind of a cool version of it. It's probably my favorite song they ever did. I kind of dig that song, but the way they did it. But I've seen this guy 10 times now. Puts on an amazing show. I didn't get to see him on this last tour. I think the last tour I saw him on was for his last album before this most recent one. What the fuck was it called? The one with My Name Is Ruin on. I can't remember the name of it. Not Exiles. Fuck. That's. He looks like the Nomad, the Mad Max guy. I can't remember it. I'm having trouble with my titles tonight with my sick brain. But yeah, so Pleasure Principle. And again, I think he's kind of the godfather of modern synth pop. Not, and I know someone's going to go, yeah, but what about Kraftwerk? Okay, I'll give you that, Kraftwerk and Tangerine Dream. But they didn't have vocals in their music, okay? Gary Newman took Kraftwerk, took Tangerine Dream and sequencing and synthesizers, and in particular the Moog and the Poly Moog, Mini Moog, and created this. And for a long, during that period of time, that was what he was doing. And then his career kind of fell apart, quite frankly. Principles of Pleasure, Gary Newman. What else do we have here? All right, so I just did a deep dive on this band back in May with my friend Melinda. I think it was the end of May. Boards of Canada. If you know me, you know I absolutely love this band, and I play this album, all their albums, but this one, Geo Gaddy and Campfire Head Phase, those are the three that I play all the time. This is probably my favorite to go. It's my go-to, even though my favorite is probably Campfire Head Phase, because I love the psychedelic trippiness of that album. But this one is just pure magic, man. It's pure magic. Every single song on here is just stunning. And these guys kind of perfected what is called the haunt gaze sound. And the haunt gaze sound it's a perfect analogy or a perfect description or descriptor of what their sound is like. But it really, I don't know how to explain it. I got hip to these guys in 2002 with Geo Gaddy and then grabbed this one. And the reason I kind of go back to this one is that songs like Ego in Your Mind and the Color of Fire Triangles and Rhombuses, Turquoise Hexagon Sun. Oh my God. Aquarius, Smokes Quantity, Happy Ending. And then, of course, there's Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv, just, if you've ever heard one of their songs, that's probably the one that you probably heard. But, the way they mix analog synths and analog technology with samples and spoken word samples and old public access and public television samples of kids and people saying, documentaries and things like that. No one does it better. No one will ever do it better. There's a lot of talk that these guys might finally, after 10 years, be firing up a new album soon. I don't know. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But Music Has the Right to Children, which came out in 1998 on Warp Records. This is Boards of Canada. And if you don't know Boards of Canada, I honestly feel very sorry for you because you should know them. You really should know them. They're one of the most amazing, and then I call them a band, but they're a duo. It's two brothers, and without this band, a lot of modern hip hop and wouldn't sound the same. And they call this trip hop. I guess that's a lot of what they call this band, trip hop. Hauntgay's trip hop. It works for me. Whatever it is, it's incredible. Of all the bands I love, this band kind of doesn't have a false move in my estimation. There are 4 EPs, 4 EPs and 4 albums. Just magic, man. Fucking magical music. And so yeah, that's that. If I didn't mention too, I think I mentioned Elektra Records, 1967. I didn't mention Script. Script came out in 1983 on EMI Records. Gary Newman's album came out on Beggar's Banquet, was it? Yeah, Beggar's Banquet, 1979. All right, we're going to go way back. We're going to get way back in time now. And we're going to go with this masterpiece, and that is Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. A lot of people feel this is probably the greatest jazz album ever recorded. You get a lot of argument, but I will say that this, along with one of my later picks in a minute here for an honorable mention, and Alice Coltrane's Journey to Satchidanada. I can't pronounce it. Satchidanada, and Wes Montgomery's Smoking at the Half Note, which I don't own anymore, but I had it, and I wish I had it because that would be an honorable mention. But this album, man, there is just something mysteriously incredible about it. And what I would say about this album is, a lot of Miles Davis can be histrionic, his Bitches Brew stuff and the Jack Johnson stuff and the early 80s stuff, the Live Evil stuff, and the more hip, I guess you'd almost call it like ethnic sounding stuff like Standing on the Corner, or his earlier stuff with, the quintet and the quartet and the sextet. That stuff's a little bit more the early bop stuff. This is not that, man. I think what makes this album so special for me is that, this is Columbia, by the way, is just what's not played. It's the spaces in between. The atmosphere of this album is just unbelievable. And I will tell you, probably one of the best lovemaking albums ever, man. This and Avalon by Roxy Music. But this album, put this on, it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. It's going to be beautiful. But I'll stop there because that's getting kind of creepy. But bottom line is, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, is just one of those albums that you can't, I own a huge amount of Miles Davis. I own probably 70% of his actual studio albums and box sets, and then I own singular live albums. Always go to this one, even though I love Silent Way and Seven Steps to Heaven and If You Lead to Kilimanjaro and Bitches Brew and all the ones that I mentioned. I love, but this is the one, Steamin'. Just phenomenal. Uh-oh. Sorry, I lost I don't know what happened there, man. I just lost you know what? My fucking internet went out. Anyway, sorry about that. I do not have tissue and lotion handy, but I will after the stream, Logan. Sorry. Sorry to disappoint you, bud. Kind of blue, man. If I had to recommend one jazz album, this would be it because it's listenable to almost anyone. It's I would almost call it background music in a lot of ways because it's so atmospheric and so ethereal and just so beautiful, but it's not it's not abrasive or in your face like say a Love Supreme or you know like some of the later Coltrane, which gets pretty crazy, like Kulis Mama or Atma, or you know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that later with Coltrane that gets pretty tough, or not Mingus, Pharaoh Sanders, or you know that the later free jazz stuff that gets really nutty. This is still in the pocket jazz, but it's absolutely amazing stuff. Kind of Blue, 1959, Columbia Records. Okay. Last one that I have in physical. I have the other two, but I couldn't locate them in time to do this, so I'm going to show pictures of them. British band XTC Skylarking. Man, man, man. Oh my God. Just again, if you don't know XTC, man, just what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life, man? I have to look at one thing here because I'm forgetting off the top of my head. So this came out in 80. I should know this, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Damn it. God damn it. Phil, if you're still out there, help me out. Look up XTC Skylarking so I can not look like a dope. I really don't remember when this came out. 84, 85? I want to say 85 or 84, but it might have been before that because I remember seeing the video for Dear God when I was still in high school, I think. So this album's kind of an interesting album because they brought in a big name producer for the first time, and they had, I don't know, 6, 7 albums out already by this time, and they were a big band, and they become a studio project because Andy Partridge did not want to perform live. So they're a trio. It's Colin Moulding and 86. Okay, thank you. I thought it was 85 or 86. Okay, 86. And Colin Moulding and Gregory. Dave Gregory. Dave Gregory they were a 3-piece. I don't know if there's a better songwriting band from the United Kingdom other than the Beatles ever. You can fight me on that. You can argue with me on that, but I don't think you're going to win that argument. And this album right here was kind of like probably their peak album, I believe, in terms of sales. And really, it was kind of set off by a song called "Dear God," which was not on the actual album. Well, actually, it was, but they didn't want to put it on the album. And Todd Rundgren was the big name producer that they brought in to do this. And apparently there was a lot of friction between Andy Partridge, who's kind of a control freak, and Todd Rundgren. And there was a lot of aggravation, apparently. I believe that several members of the band quit and came back and quit and came back a few times during the actual recording of it. And man, just songs on here, just unbelievable. Like Summer's Cauldron, Grass. Da, 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 da. The Meeting Place. Oh my God, so many. You're Really Super Duper Girl, or You're Really Super Super Girl, is fucking amazing, man. Season Cycle. Da, 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 the Season Cycle. Earn Enough for Us. Another Satellite. The Man Who Sailed Around His Soul. And then Dear God, I hope I got a letter that. Da, 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 da. I don't mean to. Da, da, da. I'm very bad at remembering lyrics, particularly in my physical state with things deteriorating. So sorry, I don't remember all these lyrics. I remember the songs and the melodies. I don't always remember the lyrics because I, haven't listened to them in a while. But dear God, so good, man. XTC. If you don't know this band, I don't know what to tell you except I hope that I'm around long enough to get into all this, because that is most of the entire XTC catalog. I think I'm missing, well, I don't think I'm missing any regular albums, but I might be missing one or two of the late ones. I have Rare Cuts and Leftovers. What's it called? Rag and Bone Buffet. The later ones, Apple Venus 1 and 2, and the acoustic versions of that, Waxworks, singles, the Dukes of Stratosphere, which is, we'll talk about that when we do a deep dive, Apple Venus 2, and then all of the Japanese OBI versions of the actual albums, which complete with stickers from, what the fuck was that place called? Oh God, it was that music store, or not music store. They were kind of like Best Buy, but before Best Buy. They went out of business. I can't remember the damn name of it. See, I'm really having trouble tonight. But you can see that's all of them. I got these all for about $12. And the last time I saw, they were going for, I don't know, about $100 a piece. So right there is probably like $400, something like that. Anyway, so Skylarking, XTC. Hoping to do an XTC deep dive one of these days. If anyone's a Circuit City, thank you, Phil, thank you. If anyone out there is a big XTC fan that sees this later, please hit me in the comments. We got to talk. That's one band that I need a partner on to do something, and I really don't want to do that one alone, although I will. But I really would love another person or two to join me on that XTC deep dive. A lot of material to go over. Okay, where do we go next? We go here. I have one more to show and then two albums to. We're almost done. Okay, the first real metal one. This is kind of the first metal album that I've shown. If you didn't notice that, I didn't pull a lot of metal, man. Yeah, Circuit City, man. Thank you. So, Fates Warning, Awaken the Guardian, 1986 on Metal Blade. If there's a perfect metal album for me, this is it. I got this the same day that I picked up Lizzie Borden's Menace to Society and Metallica's Master of Puppets. They didn't come out at the same time. I think Master came out in like March or May, and maybe this one was March and Master was in May or whatever. Those two kind of came out around the same time, and I ended up grabbing this. And I will tell you right now that this album did not come out of my tape deck. Remember, no CDs back then, tapes. Not an 8-track tape, a cassette tape, which I don't have any of those cassettes around anymore, sadly. But, man, this is such an evocative, amazing, stunning album. It's, strangely enough, it is my favorite, although I listen probably a little bit more to Parallels and some of the Ray stuff a little bit more, but this is the pinnacle of this band, man. This is where it's genius, melodic US power, traditional prog metal at its finest. Every song so atmospheric and haunting. Leads off with the Sorceress. You know, when John Arch, those otherworldly vocals, who I kind of thought he sounded a little like Bruce Dickinson, but not exactly. You get into that fucking oh God, Malefica Spells, Hoppy Fields, just amazing. Now this is not the actual CD. I have 2 or 3 versions of the CD, the reissue with the live stuff and the DVD, but this is the Awaken the Guardian Live. I think it was at Keep It True, and what was the other one? Keep It True and Prague Power. I just see I have got a fucking mark on this thing. Oh no! Oh, it's sticky stuff. Never mind. Um, yeah, man. I don't even know what to say about this album. It's perfect. You start with the Sorceress. You get into Valley of the Dolls. Valley of the Dolls. I can't go near that. Fata Morgana. Oh, Guardian. These walls remain. Da, 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 da. I will wish upon a star. I believe in you. Will you remember me? Anyways, you got Prelude to Ruin. You got fucking Giant's Lore, which I think is the one song that Frank Aresti wrote, which I love. You've got the Time Long Past, which I believe is the little acoustic thing. And they got Exodus, man. Exodus, ascend the plane. Exodus. Anyways, I listen to this album 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. It's fucking amazing. It's perfect. I love a lot of Fates, and as you know, like I said, I've done a lot of these albums are ones I've done deep dives on. Fates Warning, Boards of Canada, Porcupine Tree coming up in a sec here. Who else do we have? I've done some Miles Davis stuff. Marillion, the first era of it. Yes, which we're going to talk about them in a sec. So, these are bands that never leave my brain. They just don't, and I never get sick of this stuff. So, all right, now we're going to do 2 pictures because I could not find the actual album. So we'll talk about this one first. One of my favorite bands, yes, particularly the early era, up through 1980, from 68 through 80. Yes, Relayer. My favorite Yes album just edges out close to the edge by a tiny little bit. See what I did there? Edges out. And man, from the amazing Gates of Delirium, which is a 25 or change side 1 track that is just, at the time in 1973, 73 or 75, 75. Man, I'm having trouble here. 75, I think it was. 75 or 76. You've got Patrick Moraz comes in and replaces Rick Wigman, and the band is just clicking on all cylinders. And this album, man, has, in my opinion, the most beautiful section of a song that's ever been written. It's got the most beautiful melody ever put on wax on tape, and that is the Soon section of Gates of Delirium. It is, just thinking about it makes me tear up. It's the most beautiful thing you will ever hear. Steve Howe is playing the pedal steel, all kinds of delay and reverb on it, and it's just stunningly beautiful. And it's John Anderson. I don't think I should try this, but I'm going to try it. But when he does the soon, oh soon, the light, our reason to be. I can't do it. I can't do it without the tune in my head because I can't go high like him. He's so freaking up there and so vulnerable. And it's so beautiful. If you don't know the Gates of Delirium track by Yes, again, I can't help you. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. I just don't know how to help you. But Sound Chaser, crazy fucking insanity. It's just, for that era, it's just the level of playing, the technical level is just incredible. You got Bill Bruford going off. You've got Steve Howe, probably some of his best playing ever. And then you get into To Be Over, which is just gorgeous, just gorgeous. I can listen to this album over and over and over and never get sick of it. I love it to death. Yes is Relayer. Somebody help me out on the date on that one. I believe it was 75. I think it was 75. Help me out. Am I wrong? 75 or 76? Because Tormato came out in 77. Or I'm sorry, not Tormato. Going for the One was 77. Tormato was 78 or 79, and then you had Drama at 80. I can't remember if this came out in 75 or 76. 75. I think I said 75 bucks. Trying to convince myself. Anyway, all right, and the next one here. Stop sharing that, and we'll share one more, and then I'll go through a couple quickie. So yeah, here we go. That is Porcupine Tree Signify. Now you guys know, if you know me, big Porcupine Tree fan. Not so much now these days as much as I used to be. I still love the band, particularly this album because it was my first Porcupine Tree album, and it is 1996's Signify, which came out on Delirium Records. No. Shit, this was the one that got picked up by the U.S. label, and the I don't have my actual copy out here. Fuck. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember who it was. Because they were on Delirium up through The Sky Moves Sideways, which was a hard one not to choose for this. But then they signed over to a U.S. label. Maybe Delirium still did own them in the U.K. I can't remember, man. I can't remember. I failed my own assignment here. But so yeah, Porcupine Tree, still my favorite album of theirs, although Sky Moves Sideways there. I love the heavier era too with Sentia and Deadwing, and I love the middle period when they went to Snapper with Stupid Dream and Lightbulb Sun. But I love this album. It's just so unique and so cool. And before they went metal, they were a killer combo of space rock, Brit pop, avant space rock, dark ambient, and just killer songwriting. So many killer tracks on this, like The Haunting, Waiting. See. Shit, I'm forgetting how the fucking for the way. Shit, I'm forgetting lyrics like so badly today. Yeah, it's been a rough day for me. I'm not feeling great, so it's been hard for me to lock in on lyrics. But the song Waiting is beautiful. The song Dark Matter flowing out onto the page. Crushed like a rose, feel the river flow higher. Oh, so good. Anyway, Sleep of No Dreaming. Sleep of no dreaming. Sleep of no dreams. Amazing. Every Home is Wired. Every Home is Wired. Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. Steve Wilson is the king of multi-layer harmonies and just stunning songwriter. I'm not as into his stuff now that he's doing, but back then, man, it was mind-blowing to me. And this was the first album they did as a full band, like they recorded as a full band. So, yeah, Porcupine Tree, 96. I think Delirium and whatever the U.S. label was that I can't freaking remember what the hell their name is. Shit, they even did a showcase at Don Hills, and I can't remember the name of the band or the label. It's a label that isn't around anymore and hasn't been for years. But, yeah, killer band. So, I think that was all of them, right? Was that everything? Just double checking here. So, yeah, those are albums that I listen to regularly, often. I love them to death. Lots to say about them. I love all those bands, clearly, because they're top favorite bands for me. I'm going to give you a couple of very quick, one-off sort of honorable mentions, even though I don't know if anyone else is doing that. I'm going to. I don't care. One of my favorite all-time instrumental electronic albums, you know that if you watch me, Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygen. Some people hate it. I love it. I think a lot of people think it's like electronic pop music. Whatever. Who cares? I love it. 1976, I believe. This is the 50th anniversary of Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland. I'm still a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. I own a metric fuck ton of his albums, although I stopped collecting 10, 15 years ago because, quite frankly, I could not keep up with all the Experience Hendrix stuff that they were putting out. It was just, I've got probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 box sets, and I have all the actual albums themselves and a bunch of like the peripheral things like War Heroes, and I've got three or four very expensive at the time. They're probably not worth what I paid for them. Italian bootlegs and German bootlegs, some really cool stuff there that hadn't been released. I think it's amazing how they keep finding Hendrix material to release. I don't know if I fully buy that, but anyway, this is the 50th. It comes with a making of DVD Blu-ray. I believe the album might be from Eddie Kramer. If I'm not wrong, I think it might have it's got a 5.1 sound surround mix. At last, the beginning, the making of Electric Ladyland, and the high resolution audio mixes by Eddie Kramer. It's also got a. Come on, you son of a bitch, got it. Out there, come on. It's got a Live at Hollywood Bowl. What year is this? This came out in 2018, by the way. This show is September 1968 in Hollywood. So Hendrix there, and that's got the two versions of the album here, which are Electric Ladyland and come on, man. I hate these pocket things that glue gives way on. So there's the original album right there. I believe it's remixed and remastered by Eddie Kramer, 2018, Experience Hendrix. And then it came with a supplemental disc of all kinds of stuff. 1983, A Merman I Should Be, Cherokee Mist, Hear My Train A Comin', Long Hot Summer Night, all kinds of outtakes. Rainy Day, Wish Away, Dream Away, Snowballs at My Window, My Friend, The Gods Made Love at Last, The Beginning. So this is a killer set. I don't know if it's still available. I would assume it probably is. Stuff by Hendrix never really goes out of print. But Jimi Hendrix, all of his albums are great, all three of them. But this is the pinnacle of Hendrix, and I listen to this quite regularly because, fuck, man, it's Jimi Hendrix. Do you need a reason? Really? All right, what else do I have here? Do I have anything else? I have a couple over here quick that we'll run through. I mentioned John Coltrane and the Greatest Jazz Albums. Here's another one that gets a lot of airplay from Blue Note. John Coltrane, I think this was 58. No. Is it 58 or 62? This is 97, but I don't remember. 58, I think it was. 58. Coltrane, my favorite Coltrane, easily hands down. Man, Blue Train. Oh my God. Locomotion, Moment's Notice. Every song in here is a banger. John Coltrane, Blue Train. We talk about Dream, Tangerine Dream. You've got Phaedra off this album. All of these albums, Ricochet, Phaedra, Rubicon. The only one I'm not totally in love with, I like the music, but it's got weird vocals on it, is Cyclone. They sound strange, odd. You get used to them, but anyways. This is the 3-disc, 5-album Virgin box set of those first 5 albums post the Pink period, which has Zeit in it, which I'm going to show that. That's another one I listened to. I think this is the beginning of Dark Ambient. This is the double disc that came out on Plangerly, I think. No, Esoteric Recordings. Zeit from Tangerine Dream, the very beginning, for me, of Dark Ambient. All right. Not much very contemporary here, but 2 last ones. One of my very favorite albums, Temple of the Dog. As most people know, I love... Oh, and I didn't pull out Dirt. I have to mention Dirt from Alice in Chains. That has to be in here. A masterpiece of grunge, even though I think they're more a metal band, quite frankly. But Temple of the Dog, man, kind of the super group of the grunge era with Chris Cornell on vocals, Mike McCready on lead guitars, Jeff Ament on bass. I forget who played drums on this. Matt Cameron, I think. And then you got Eddie Vedder on it as well. Say hello to heaven, man. Holy shit, get out of here, man. I'm just checking here. So yeah, this was kind of a memorial tribute album to Andrew Wood of Mother Love Bone, and just man, dude, just amazing, amazing album. Say hello to heaven. 12 minutes goes by, and you just want to re-listen to it. You got Reach Down. Oh, I'm gonna reach down and pick the crowd up. That's the long one. I'm sorry. That's the really long one. Like 12 minutes. I think Say Hello to Heaven's maybe 8 or 9, somewhere in that range. You've got Hunger Strike. Everyone's heard that song, right? I'm going hungry. And then you've got Pushing Forward Back. You got Call Me a Dog. Well, that's fair enough. Times of trouble, times of trouble. Wouldn't Jesus, where you from? Your Savior, don't call me your Savior. And then you got, what do you got? You got Four Walled World. Oh my God, what a heavy fucking track. And then It's an All Night Thing. Killer album. I'm not a fan of much grunge with the exception of Soundgarden and Alice. Not a big Pearl Jam guy, not a Nirvana guy at all. Temple of the Dog, man. My favorite grunge album, probably. All right. And it gets a lot of airplay from the stuff of that era, along with Alice in Chains. And then lastly, man, I just got this maybe earlier last year. Ultravox. Again, synthwave, new wave, post-punk, mid-year. Billy Currie. This is I believe it's the first album post John Fox, who was the original vocalist. Just a masterpiece of an album, man. If you don't know Vienna, I mean, it leads off with an instrumental called Astrodyne that is just bad freaking ass. The New Europeans, Passing Strangers, Western Promise, Vienna, oh, Vienna. Oh, my God. This is the 40th anniversary box set. I think it has 5 CDs, live cassette recordings, singles, B-sides, original analog mix, Stephen Wilson stereo mix, and then it's got the 5.1 stereo mix, surround, blah, 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 DTS, all that shit. And I just picked up Rage in Eden, which I was not as familiar with that album, and that was a mistake. So just as good, a little different than this, but just as good. So yeah, that's I think that's it. Those are my top 10 most listened to, with probably close to 10 honorable mentions. Yes, Robert, thank you. I actually did know that Chris Cornell sang with Soundgarden. I knew that. You know what else Chris Cornell did, Robert? You're going to find this hard to believe. He put out a couple of solo albums too, one of which has to be mentioned here. I forgot. I'm glad I saw that. Euphoria Morning by Chris Cornell. That belongs on this list too. It's a fucking masterpiece of an album, man. Masterpiece of an album. We're going to be talking about that album soon coming up. My daughter and I, and hopefully Kelly Schaefer is going to join us. He may or may not, to talk about Euphoria Morning and how important that album is to us. I could also, and probably should have also, put Jeff Buckley's Grace on this list, because that's another one that is just a fucking masterpiece of an album. I'm not as crazy about the second album, which is all he put out, because it wasn't really ready to come out, wasn't even remotely done. But Jeff Buckley, another one. So yeah, those are my albums. Anybody got any questions? There's not many people here, and this kind of tells me what I need to know, that nobody's going to watch this video ultimately, which is kind of funny, I think. But oh well, it is 1:30 in the morning, so maybe that has something to do with it. Oh, by the way, I wanted to do a shout out quick to my buddy Greg Chandler of Esoteric. Where's that? Come here. The other day, he sent me this in the mail. It is the exclusive esoteric tour shirt of Australia. Look at that artwork, people. Are you kidding me? It's got esoteric on the sleeves. The esoteric. The interesting thing about this is it's kind of a. It doesn't feel like silkscreen. It honestly does feel a bit like an iron-on, which is I'm kind of surprised by that. But the one thing about this is, unfortunately, they sold out all of the small, medium, and large. Well, I wouldn't fit in a small, would barely fit in a medium. I was hoping for a large, but this is an XL. So I have no idea how I'm going to shrink this down without damaging the print on it. But Greg, if you're watching, dude, you fucking rule. I love you, man. You're the best. You've treated me so incredibly kindly. And in furtherance of that, he sent me this, which was the one reissue from Aesthetic Death that I did not have of epistemological despondency. I have all the other ones, and he sent me Pernicious Enigma, Pyrrhic Existence, the first one, the demo, and then he also sent me Metamorphogenesis, and didn't want any money, didn't want me to send him anything, but I'm going to when I get my disability kicks in. But man, you want to talk about fucking cool guy, man. That is about the coolest it gets. So I should probably do a different video with the few things that I've gotten in the last couple of months that have come in. I'm not going to say who bought them for me, although I will say the ones who bought them for me if it was somebody in the VC. Rick got me the Cave-In CD, the latest Cave-In CD at the Yob show. Rick got me the latest Fifth Angel album, When Angels Kill. Killer album, by the way, guys. Fifth Angel could have made this list too as an honorable mention. The first Fifth Angel album. You guys know I love that band and love that album. Who else? I don't know. I think that's it. So yeah, like I said, man, does everybody listen to just 10 albums and know that they listen to those albums more than any other album? I'd find that hard to believe. But maybe it's true. Maybe people are more organized than me and more focused than I am. I don't tend to think about when I'm listening to something and go, oh yeah, I've listened to this twice already this year. I can't listen to this anymore. It's just not how I roll. I listen to what I listen to. Sometimes I'll listen to an album 3 or 4 times in a row and then won't touch it for a year. So you never know. You never, ever know. So anybody want to hit me with anything before I tap out? Yes, Robert, I did know that he sang for Soundgarden and Audioslave. Thank you. Appreciate you letting me know that. Okay. I guess that's it. Looks like probably no one's got any questions. So thanks to Phil and Logan and Robert and Ryan and who else popped in here? Rick. I know this was kind of a late thing to throw together out of the blue, and most people aren't all up all night like I am, which I know is kind of weird. But if you are, well, you had something to watch. If you didn't, share this video around. So I'm really interested to see if just on the title alone, people start checking in. Now, they may look at it and go, oh, my God, it's an hour and a half long. I don't want to watch that. The first 20 minutes are me talking about a lot of other stuff. But, yeah, that's kind of, in my kind of perceptions of this whole thing, that it's interesting that people with only a couple hundred subs got 6, 7, 8,000 views on a video that doesn't make any sense and doesn't have any substance. It blows my mind that people do these videos and then they say 1 or 2 things about the album and then they move on. It's like, are people short attention spans that short that they cannot literally focus on someone talking about music that they may like or that they like too, and they can't focus on what's being said for 25, 30, 40 minutes or 10 minutes on an album? It just blows my mind, man. Kind of frightening when you think about it. And probably what gives rise to that is that, this whole social media obsession, of which I am guilty of myself quite a bit. Scary times ahead, man. It's hard to disconnect. It's an addiction, and a lot of people are addicted to social media, to YouTube, to Facebook, to Instagram, to all those, Twitch, all that shit, and kind of mind blowing. But anyway, I'm gonna tap out now, just short of the 1 hour and 30 minute mark. Again, I do not know who started this thread. I have no idea where it came from. I saw, God, I'm not even sure who I saw do this. Like that I know. I don't really know. Probably several people, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head. But I didn't start this thing, and if anybody knows who started this thread, let me know in the comments afterwards so I can properly credit them. But I have no clue, no idea. Real quick to wrap up, Saturday night at 7 o'clock here, live, 7 p.m. on August 8th or 12th. I've got 9 guys joining me. Well, actually, 10 guys joining me for the top 10 black metal Deserted Island Essential albums. And what we've got there is we've got Rick is going to be here, but he's not going to be here physically. So Rick from Dreadful Minutes is going to drop a best of top 10 video for me to pepper in amongst the live guests. We've got Johnny Mac from Rock and Metal Plus over in the UK joining us. We've got Peter, who does not have a YouTube channel, but has the Metal Vault on Instagram. And dude, this guy knows black metal like nobody's business. So Peter's going to join us. Roger Jorkvist, Jorvik. I always fuck that up. Roger from his channel, the same name as his name, is joining us from Norway. Those guys are doing a super cool thing. They're starting at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and going through the night because in the U.S., I didn't want to kill everybody's midday and afternoon to do this stream. So we've got Logan from Drunken Metal Musings is going to join us. Jimmy from Future Ruins. Jake from the Upside Down Church. Devin from Maze of Torment. You got to be kidding me. I'm going to forget everybody. Me. So that's 5. I'm missing 2 people. Tyler from AK Alaskan Bergs Wanderers. And one more. Who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? Let me see. One more person here. I just got to look it up. We've got Kellen from Killing for Company. Sorry, Kellen. Killing for Company is joining us. So there's going to be 10 of us doing our top black metal albums from Baphomet Island. That was Rick, by the way. Baphomet Island was Rick. The Teletubbies and the satanic jokes and things like that was me, but Rick did all the artwork on my concepts. Fucking slayed it as usual because he's the master of thumbnails. What else is coming up? Ooh, Eric Berg and I. Eric Berg, the young Canuck, Cronus Jr. We are doing the first 11 albums of the Jethro Tull catalog, starting with This Was and going through Heavy Horses, 1977. So about a 10-year period there. We're going to do the first 11. We're skipping 2 of an archival Christmas album, one other archival album, and then we're going all the way through the 2 most recent ones, which I do not own, Rock Flot, and I forget the one before it. Yeah, so we're doing that. But the first episode of that, it's going to be 2 episodes, is Sunday, August 20th at 7. I think it's 5 p.m., but it might be 7 p.m. I'm not sure. Working on an Anathema deep dive. Working on a Rainbow deep dive. The next Deserted Island thing is going to be Prog Metal Island, I think. Man, I know I'm missing something here. Oh, Hawkwind's still to come, just not sure when. And I think that. Oh, I already mentioned interviews. I'm trying to get Duncan Patterson from Anathema locked in. And I'll probably be talking to Paul Masvidal tomorrow or the next day about coming on with Kelly Schaefer. Paul to talk to him for a while about Cynic first, and then his life and art and all that kind of stuff. Solo albums, Aeon Spoke, all that stuff, and then we'll have Kelly drop in and they'll talk about the tour that they just did in June and July. So yeah, that's it. That's what's planned, and I think I might drop a like I said, I might drop a collection update. I never do those hardly ever, and I rip on people that do them all the time. No offense, Nick. But I don't buy a lot of stuff, mainly because I can't, because of my health and finances. And that may change soon, but I'm not sure. I probably still won't go crazy on stuff because I have so much stuff that I still haven't even dove fully into. So, yeah, lots and lots and lots hoping to come. It's very, very hard to... when's the Darkened Nocturne Slaughter Cult Deep Dive coming? Soon, man. Soon, bro. It'll be coming soon, bro. But, yeah, so that's kind of it. Again, Saturday night, 7 o'clock, 48 hours, less than 48 hours away. We got the Black Metal Island top 10 essential black metal albums. So join us for that. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think that's it. So yeah, that'll kind of wrap it up for tonight, guys. I appreciate those of you that stopped in and hung out, and anyone else that's kind of Desert Island is Saturday. Yeah, Saturday at 7 p.m. So I think that's pretty much it. Go check out. No, it's the 12th. So today is Friday. We're at Friday now. It's tomorrow night. Or not tomorrow night, but Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Yeah, I think that's it. I better just shut the hell up. So I hope this thing gets spread around. I'm not, like I said, I'm not thinking that it's going to do like 25,000 or whatever. Because for one reason, it's an hour and a half long. And like I said, nobody can focus on anything for more than 15 minutes, which is pathetically sad. But yeah, so that's that. But I'm really interested to see if, because of the name and the search engine stuff and some of the hashtag stuff, if this thing goes around and gets shared around and ends up, pulling 2,000 people or 3,000. That would be mind blowing for me, actually. But I'm not expecting it at all. I'm expecting 200 or 300, maybe 400 at most. So there you go. We'll see you guys. I'm going to head out. Peace out.